Hey, welcome to Hear Us Out. I'm Paul,
And I'm Patrick.
and tonight we're going to be talking about Tokyo and its role in cinema via kind of like its like portrayal in movies versus the reality of it. I got to go to Japan recently, so
Yeah, I
so
was going to
that's
say, don't bury the lead, Paul. It's because we have you just back from Tokyo, and I am dying for your insights into what it's like there, particularly because, let's face it,
oh
it
sorry.
is one of the top five kind of movie cities in the world as far as setting things in it. There's New York, Paris, London, Tokyo, and LA. Now, I'm not saying filming because Vancouver plays all of those places. Eventually,
Yeah,
Vancouver will play Dublin at some point, Paul, if it
probably.
hasn't already. But yeah, I'm really, really excited to hear just did it, how much it mirrored, how much it differed from, and what was surprising and what was surprisingly familiar, I guess, as well. Um, Spoiler, I'm going to be asking you about Bullet Train, but slightly later, both the
That's
movie and your experience with.
that's fine. The Shinkansen, as it's known in Japan, and there's like three
Oh, he's got
versions
the
of it as
terminology,
well.
folks.
You have to look for it on the posters. But yeah, which Japan has been portrayed in movies a lot. Of this kind of like we were talking about it earlier, this pseudo kind of like alien world kind of thing. As the culture is so different to Western, kind of staples. So it's this interesting use of Tokyo as a kind of going. This is exotic. And I believe that it's because Europe and America have become so small and so interconnected so much that
Mm,
like it's not as much a an exotic kind of view when you see Paris. You see
yeah,
locations in Paris which will be feel more exotic. But like when they go Paris, you're kind of going, oh yeah, Paris,
yeah.
kind of thing. Then when you go to Tokyo, you're kind of going, okay, we're gonna see some weird stuff.
Well, it's real culture shift stuff. Like they've been doing it since back in the James Bond days. Bond being the first international movie traveler. You know, the guy that was the surrogate for people who couldn't afford flights back then because International Man of Mystery was a cool thing because
Yeah,
of the international part as much as mystery. And you know, off he went driving the one of a kind. See, I get in the car thing in here. Chopped top Toyota 2000. It's one of those things. I I'm fascinated by Tokyo. When you told me you were getting to go to Japan, I was like, oh, I want to hear all the stories. I want you to tell me, is it like what I imagine? And I guess, Paul, my imagination isn't from travel programs, even though it should be. It's more likely that my imagination is ruled by the lost in translations. I'm not going to say Godzilla because at no point do I think, oh, I'm going to go to Tokyo and somebody's going to kick a building over near me.
um,
Um, but but it's got that it has that place in cinema history that we've been given the small back street feel, the neon, the big crosswalk with everybody moving. Is it cramped? Is it packed? Is outside of Tokyo just all, bamboo and sword making in the hills? Whereas once you get into Tokyo, somebody's coming drifting past you in what I'm now starting to realize is one of the most underrated of the Fast and Furious movies as they get worse and worse. If you've seen enough of them, you'll get that reference, folks.
yeah, like that's the interesting thing because we got to go to, just to kind of put it, we got to go to Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto, three of the major kind of areas. Tokyo being the current capital and an absolute sprawl of a city. Osaka is kind of their secondary. It used to be one of their capitals, which is it's a lot more modern. And then Kyoto, which is used to be another capital, but it is now their kind of cultural, a lot of their cultural centers. So they're the three locations we got to go to. Osaka doesn't really get as much kind of cinema time, except
Mm,
for a certain location, which is the channel, the canal that runs through Osaka gets a lot of kind of things. But it also is portrayed as Tokyo. I'll say that being to Tokyo and to Osaka, I've now noticed more times that they've filmed something in Osaka going Tokyo, and I've gone now going, oh, that's ruined. That's shot now.
So Osaka is the Vancouver of
It
Japan.
would seem so, yeah. Kind of thing. But yeah, the kind of aspect of Tokyo being a metropolitan kind of like modernized city, and then literally you go outside it, and then it's like cultural kind of like diverse Japan, in the sense of tradition and kind of like classical kind of, I guess, what we think more of Japan's kind of culture, is really kind of weird when you kind of have this thought in your head that it's just like the second I leave Tokyo, it's gonna be like bowing and samurais and kind of, and that's a very ignorant, I guess, kind of
Mm.
portrayal of the culture kind of thing. But it's interesting, because like Wolverine, which goes is especially kind of like one of those things that kind of really messes with people's views on what kind of Japan is like, because it's like, yeah, it's super modern with like its old traditional roots like embedded into it, and it's like it's not really. Tokyo is a very modern city, I'll say that. It is very neon. We like
Okay.
uh Shibuya Crossing, which is the famous crossing, which is kind of portrayed constantly in
Yeah.
movies, is worse than what movies and images would portray. It's a lot more packed. Um,
Wow.
in movies and stuff like that, they have kind of there's an image up of it, of
Mm.
essentially kind of like everybody kind of walking across the crossings.
Yeah.
That does not happen. It is literally just all of the green lights in the junction, just or like all the pedestrian lights go green, and everybody just walks. It's like,
Free for
um,
all.
yeah, my partner was just like, this is like a battle line in like Braveheart kind of thing, where like there's two sides kind of facing off each other. Um, so, but it's a beautiful. There's a beautiful kind of I guess area around us because it's a very open junction, a lot bigger than kind of I would say that the images kind of portray, uh, a lot more neon. I will say that that's one thing that you will notice about Tokyo and Osaka and stuff like that. Is that at night it does not seem like it's night. It seems like it's day because they do have
Gotcha.
neon everywhere. Neon signs, posters, billboards, everything you can possibly have. So that part in movies is very honest.
Yeah, okay.
A city that never sleeps, unless it goes past 10 o'clock. Um, but kind of thing.
Uh, so it never sleeps except for after curfew.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that was one thing that we found. In movies, it's portrayed as a kind of Tokyo is a city that never sleeps. We actually found that Osaka was a lot more of a later city. A lot of things
Right.
closed at 10 o'clock. In Tokyo, a lot of restaurants and everything closed around 10 o'clock. Whereas in Osaka, they opened a lot later. That doesn't mean that everything just shuts. There's obviously restaurants and
Oh
places
yeah,
that are
and
open.
if the movies have told me anything, Paul, at some point a lot of people in perfectly fitting, immaculate suits go to a top floor of a unusually glass building that has lots of glass not only in its walls but also probably all glass furniture, and then have like their mafia meeting or their, I guess it's yakuza meeting, and then eventually somebody breaks in and shoots everybody and smashes all the glass because that is like the Japanese, not nightclub but night gathering bar kind of place with, again, a Fast and Furious sort of vibe to it, but also a bit of that yeah, action movie. Why are all these people really well dressed? And why is there so much glass to be broken in this room? I think stuff's going to kick off. So
Yeah,
you didn't go to that room, no? You weren't
s-
there.
so that's the interesting thing. A lot of buildings hide a lot of stuff. Um, like you look at a building and you're kind of going, okay, there's a big sign there and it says what's in it, and then you go into like a side door and then you go up to the top floor and it's like an entire floor of restaurants suddenly appear out
Right.
of nowhere, kind of thing. So there is a lot of hidden. It's like they've crammed every single piece of space with something. That's one thing I
Yeah.
had. Like I do notice that you like when we were in Akihabara, which is like the main kind of like anime manga kind of merchandise kind of area for figures and statues and stuff
Hmm.
like that. Um, everything is crammed into everything. It's like no floor is left untouched by some kind of shop or restaurant or service kind of thing.
Space is at a premium.
Yeah, that was the big thing about it. the other thing about Tokyo was that it with that whole space thing was that it is a very busy, populated city.
Mm,
It's got like 36 million people in it. It's if I'm not mistaken, it is the biggest city by population in the world, and you can really tell. That's the one thing I can
right.
tell. Like I I got home a week ago, and I went into this room and closed the door, and it was the first time that no one had been within like 2 meters of me
Right.
in 3 weeks, like
Gotcha. Yeah.
which which is a big it's a difficult thing for a Westerner to deal with. That was one of the things. So like the movie portraying it as a very enclosed kind of heavy populated kind of place is true. That's completely
Okay.
true. And I don't think it's not uncalled for to talk about it as other Asian kind of places like Hong Kong and stuff like that would be very similar.
Hmm.
Kind of like I think that's a very New York is very populated as well, but it never there's wide open spaces. Tokyo has them too, like the shrines and temples and everything like that. But New York, you could end up like walking down a street and it could
Yeah.
just be empty for whatever reason for like
Yeah.
whereas in Tokyo and Osaka, it never felt like anything was ever empty. Um,
Right.
so that was the big kind of, I guess, scarier part of kind of in my head. I
Yeah.
was just
And
like, it's very packed, and then in my head, when I got there, it was just like, no, your imagination was way off. You were never going to be too far away from another human being, kind of thing. So that was the creepier.
and it's certainly like it's not an insult to the country or the city to say that because it's just a fact. And to say that it would be, it's an interesting transition for you while you were there, or it would be for me if I ever get there. But I'm sure the reverse is true because we've grown up in a country with, you know, borders, a sea, we're on an island in Ireland and, we could walk from one side of this place to the other, legitimately walk, it wouldn't actually be something that would be lethal to our health. If you had a couple of bottles of water and a sandwich, you
Yeah,
could technically do it and tough it out. There, though, and while you're doing it, you could take routes that would mean you would meet five people on the whole way. Where, and even the capital city is like it's populated, but the Irish population is half of what it once was, way, way, way back. So to say that we're living in not the opposite end of the spectrum, but in a significantly different category of population density, I can only imagine that that would be striking, particularly when it comes to like shops and kiosks and using every last square inch. And obviously for me, K cars, the the small motorcycle engined cars that we're not going to go into because that's not what this channel is supposed to be about. But you've got the classic. Everybody asks about the. I'm not going to call them coffin. The sleeping cells where you have a horizontal small
the pod
sleeper.
hotels.
Yeah. Once somewhere does something like that, and it's not just a gimmick, I'm sure there's a gimmicky part of it, but it's not just a gimmick. You're dealing with every square foot matters. So when it came to actually being inside places, was that also ever present? Like when you went into a small store, was there one more rack, of items than you would have here, let's say? Were they making use of it going, okay, we're used to turning sideways past each other? Whereas, in America, all the times my American friends is not a dig at you either because I love America,
Yeah,
but you have aisles. We have narrower aisles here, which are a pain in the ass. But I'm imagining it's another step in.
yeah, like that's the big one of the biggest things about it was that we learned very quickly that pushing past people but apologizing for it was a necessary kind of like evil.
Okay.
Like you get very quick it's like learning sumimasen, which is like excuse me, sorry, and then arigato gozaimasu, which is thank you very much, kind of thing. Of like you quickly learn those two phrases because like it's the only way that you can get past people. And you also you want to kind of be respectful of everybody there, but like yeah, there's oh god, it was it was very difficult at the start to kind of get used to like going through shops and stuff like that and being like, do I go down there because there's another human being there, or do I try find an aisle that's just empty and just wait until that aisle like clears,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So that was a very it gives a feel of claustrophobia a lot, in certain respects, and also because a lot of the buildings are densely put over each other and connected to each other. The heat was something that I didn't realize. It's
Interesting.
very hot in every single shop, kind of
Ah,
thing. So that was a big thing. So that added to the claustrophobia, which more that I thought about it was a real big thing of kind of going, I can see why filmmakers kind of want sometimes to film metropolitan Tokyo as some kind of like dystopian future place, because it's so it's so neon, it's so population density kind of heavy. Every piece of space is used in some fashion, kind of thing. So it gives a kind of very kind of like, it tells a story of the rest of the world. It's just like, oh, this is New York when they're actually filming in Tokyo, and you're kind of going, yeah, the world is kind of screwed up if like that's downtown Manhattan, and it's like
yeah.
it's like a few 100,000 people are walking in the sidewalk, kind of thing. So that's one of the interesting things was that seeing movies where it's portrayed as a very kind of populated area, it's entirely true. Like that's one thing.
Yeah.
The wealthy have space, the not wealthy have no space, kind of thing. So like our hotel room was literally a one room. As I said, it was probably no bigger than either my room or your room,
Yeah.
kind of thing, which was very. We had to in Kyoto. We got an Airbnb house, and it really helped me kind of, I guess, reset, because I'm so used to space,
Yeah.
that I'm very privileged, in that way. But like, yeah, it was very much like I need to get 4 days of being able to like stretch my arms and you know
Without touching both walls.
yeah,
Yeah.
or smacking my partner in the face by accident, kind of thing, because it was very awkward, especially since we went over with like stupidly 5 cases.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you were toting a lot of stuff.
yeah. That was a big thing. There's a lot of consumerism and merchandise kind of elements to Tokyo, and to Japanese kind of culture as well. Everything is merchandised. Everything. Every station has a mascot,
Oh
which you can
right.
buy in the store or in the local kind of like station shop. Um,
So so the kind of the stereotype of collector culture, but also local pride and individuality and all sorts of stuff like that. It that kind of makes sense to me. It's not something I would have thought of had you not just said it, but yeah, I guess in my head, I view particularly metropolitan Tokyo or the urban areas to be like that from how it's been portrayed. And I guess that is my watching travel programs rather than watching movies. Because the only thing you really get from movies is if somebody's going to walk past you with pigtails and a Pokemon backpack, or which I should ask. So what was the mix and diversity of interesting folks you were walking past here and there? Did you catch anybody you were like awesome spaceman person, awesome 90-year-old businessman?
Um, yeah, there's a lot of kind of different fashion types, I guess, in Japan. Obviously, there's the salary man who just, or like just the kind of office worker, business suit or kind of smart attire. Then obviously there's kind of more casual people, still fantastically dressed. I will say this. Everybody there was pretty much really well dressed. You could definitely tell
That's good. That
tourists.
stereotype's true
Yeah,
because I'm happy for them because I know that we're the worst dressed nation on the planet. So it's nice to know somebody out there's taking our side and keeping the credits up for what we're letting down.
yeah. The balance is there. Um, yeah, and then the kind of like, I guess, more outward kind of extrovert kind of dressed and everything like that. There's very much a large amount of that. I'm used to it from essentially running conventions. in the past in
Yeah.
Ireland and stuff like that. So that kind of wasn't really kind of something that I caught me. It was more the fact is that it was very casual. That was one thing. Like in Ireland, if someone like dressed as a anime character and walked down the street without a convention being on, you'd have like people shouting stuff at them,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Whereas in
Because we're
Japan,
lovely here, really. We're actually going to sell Tokyo and kill Ireland here.
yeah,
Ireland's still lovely, but we do have a-holes.
yeah, like most people, or most areas and stuff like that. So that kind of cultural shock wasn't too big. But the merchandise stuff was the biggest thing. It was they had backpacks full of like the similar pins, or loads of kind of merchandise, kind of key rings. I even got into it as well, kind of thing as well, where I just bought a bunch of kind of stuff that I really enjoy, but generally wouldn't have been mostly what I would do normally. Like
Oh,
I bought a
so much.
giant
Hey,
Gengar. It's
how did you travel with that?
oh, no,
How well does it compress?
it compresses very well.
Ah, good.
But stuff like that, like it's
It's also adorable, by the way. It just came up on the live replay for me. That's awesome.
yeah, it's a Gengar kind of plushie. But I got loads of little kind of trinkets and stuff like that that I've now attached to bags and other places and stuff like that that I usually wouldn't kind of go in for, but I guess I got caught up in that element of the culture, kind of thing. So, individuality and stuff like that is expressed through these fashions a lot when it comes to kind of a massive kind of population density area. So that kind of diversity, really comes through in a lot of movie sense, in the sense that like you have so many people dressed similarly in the sense of salary men, or salary office workers, and then you would have more individuality kind of things where like
Yeah.
people are dressed in different kind of outlandish kind of things. One of the biggest things that I do need to think, on TikTok and everything like that, there's a big misnomer. There are kind of uh young women who are dressed in kind of cosplay and stuff like that, who are along the sides of like Akihabara and a couple of other places. A lot of people think that this is like the red light district, or a lot of TikTokers are falsely
Oh,
saying that this is like the red light district. It is not. They are maid cafes, or like women cafes. It's essentially there's a big issue with single men in Tokyo and loneliness and stuff like that. That these cafes kind of like offer companionship, but not in a kind of in any kind of gross sticky way.
gotcha.
It's more kind of
Okay.
like, but so like I just wanted, because since I got back, I've been getting a lot of TikTok and a lot of Twitter and a lot of kind of things where it's just like the 5 things I would do different if I went to Japan, and it's
Which
just like,
reminds me, Paul, we've got to get this out there up front. A whole lot of YouTubers from the West are making everybody look bad by acting like assholes in, and I'm to hell with the no swearing rule, absolute asshats in Japan. So you're not one of them. I can tell you all this. Paul did not send me back any videos of, look, here's me kicking over a fruit stand and laughing about it. None of that kind of shenanigans.
yeah, like that was a big worry for me, because I'd watched a lot of those kind of like reports and stuff like that that had become such a big thing. So much so that like it was like 3 months ago, one of the biggest stories came out where they tried to travel across. I think it was like they tried to travel across Japan without paying or anything like that.
Oh, I heard about that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then a couple of others. The it the backlash of that is that everywhere has signs saying "Do not stream, do not record," kind of things in a streaming fashion. And as a Westerner, it was very much a thing in the back of my mind. Anytime I took my phone out to kind of take pictures, or
Right.
film anything, I was very much kind of like, I am now taking out my phone to take a photo. I am now an ambassador to kind of go, we're not all like assholes,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So like, I did feel a lot of that, and it's a pity. It's a real pity, because the honor system in Japan is a huge, big staple of society. That they just leave things out. On the countryside, there's like shops with no one there. This is the money box, and there's fruit and stuff, and you just take what you want and pay for it. That's it. Kind of thing. There's a lot of the transport is very much an honor system where you tag in and tag off kind of thing. so seeing people kind of abuse that is just I hated seeing that and felt it a lot while I was there.
Paul,
Um,
I won't speak for both of us, Paul, but you can tell me if you agree. I think a lot of the prank channels and look how big a douche I can be channels out there should just go and F off, because it's taking up space on YouTube that could be used by people doing something much less irritating and much better. I will never get the appeal of look how big a gimp I am. I've just walked into somebody's house when they didn't want me in it, or whatever the hell else. Like that sort of stuff where you're terrorizing and bothering people, it's the lowest of the low. Like at that point, I'm like, hey, not all music is for me. I gotta live and let live. Everybody have their thing. No, I'm willing to take a stand on that stuff and go, no, those people are creeps.
yeah, it's a big problem because I think as a culture, Japan is very kind of introverted in the sense that they don't want to be bothered by anything out like on their day to day. So they're very much kind of easy to take advantage of in the sense that they just want to get through the day as quickly as possible without any kind of disruptions. So they will do anything they possibly can to just let it do that. So I
Right.
think a lot of these kind of prankster are kind of I don't even say pranksters because like pranksters I try to kind of put under kind of like harmless kind of like things, but
Yeah.
these absolute pricks are like taking advantage of that kind of system, and like they're just not used to controlling this kind of like abrupt extra like extrovert or
Yeah.
kind of thing. So and I also think that anyone who makes those kind of videos are essentially just people who will eventually fizzle out completely and destroy their lives, because they're trying to just keep pushing the boundaries as much as possible, thinking that they'll get away with it, because they're on YouTube, and it turns out that YouTube's not a golden shield for your stupid
Yeah.
crap.
So
And
I look
I'm
forward to their failure.
yeah, I'm one of them got arrested, and I'm really happy for him to
Yay.
stay in Japan for free for a while. Um,
Exactly.
it just it just hurts me because like I really wanted to film a lot, and I think when I do decide to go back, which I am already deciding to go back, I think I'll probably bring a lot more kind of high definition, high quality kind of camera
And bigger,
equipment a
yeah.
little bit more, and take a lot more kind of images, but I'll still have to be that respectfulness of kind of going,
Yeah.
I'm not a dickhead. Don't worry, Japan. I'm like I love your culture. I love like everything about you. One of the biggest things I will say is that the reason that I fell in love with their culture while there is everything's done with such a passion, which has definitely died in the West. Um,
Right.
like I will like everything is done with such a passion kind of thing, down from like janitors all the way up to like kind of big businessmen kind of things. There's a lot of joy in those kind of things. I don't know now, someone who has a little bit more kind of cultural knowledge in this can probably come out and be just like it's all a farce, it's all like face kind of value
Yeah.
stuff. That's fine, but it seems like there's a lot of passion there of what they do, which is just refreshing. Everybody's very polite, everybody's very nice, and if you're polite back and respectful and stuff like that, the people open up to you, kind of thing. So I will say that's really good, which is different. Once again, different in movies in the sense that people are very portrayed as faces in the crowd, and it's only
Yeah.
the characters in which other characters interact with are ever kind of like any kind of like personality, which is not true. A lot of people are very polite and very nice. We saw like someone fell down, and a lot of like a Westerner fell down, which was and a lot of people like suddenly came to their aid and kind of make sure that they were okay, not drunk or anything, just
Oh,
tripped on a curb, kind of thing, nothing injured or anything like that. But it
that's
was
the
wonderful.
Irish disclaimer. Fell over, wasn't drunk.
Yeah, yeah. But it was very nice to see like such a crowd
Yeah.
of people kind of come to their aid very quickly,
That's awesome.
kind of thing, which happens in other countries as well. I'm not saying Japan is like the only country that does it, but the amount of people was very like sudden and
And
quick.
heartening too, by the sounds of it. So that's cool. That's very cool. Well, Paul, I've got a secret question for you after we come back from the break. I'm not going to tell the viewers what it is. They've got to come back and find out what it is. But I promise you, when we come back, I'm going to ask you a question that you're not expecting.
Okay, back in a second.
See you then. You obviously are like two people talking about movies, or you wouldn't even be seeing this ad. Well, don't tell anyone. But Hear Us Out isn't the only choice. You should check out our friends over at It Takes Two podcast. It's a podcast where two people take two films with the same plot or premise, watch and discuss them. Films like Gremlins and Critters, or The Truman Show on EdTV. Lisa and Nick don't stop there though. They get creative and compare some unexpected movies. Some that you don't see the connection until you realise that they can be described in the same way. They launch new episodes every second Tuesday, or Monday if you're in New Zealand. Find them on your favourite podcast service, or check the link in our description down below. That's It Takes Two podcast. Tell them Hear Us Out sent you.
Hey, welcome back. So before the break, Patrick had a question.
Yeah, my little teaser, and just so you know, folks, myself and Paul had a very, very brief chance to talk before this show, and I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this at all, and I'm hoping you have one, but I'm going to give you one of the, like, I've been in a lot of places. I've traveled a little bit too, but particularly I've seen 30, I think is it either 32 or 33 of the US states, and I will collect the rest of them eventually when I retire and have time, but. Since I was quite young, I've been going over and back to America for, extended family reasons and all sorts of good stuff. But one thing that had never happened to me until one day in Chicago that made me feel like that was my movie moment. And because we consume so much American TV and movies, you'd think there'd be a lot of them. But I'd ordered a slice of pizza in New York. I'd had bagels, blah blah blah. Done all the traditional tropes. I've worn a hat in Texas, all that kind of jazz. But I was in Chicago, and literally, we needed to get a cab, and a cab went past on the street we were on, and I whistled, and that cab stopped, Paul. And at that point, it was full Truman Show for me. I was like, I am actually the star of this show now. I am the central character. I've never been the central character before. But in that moment, I went from just feeling like a regular person who has lots of self-doubt to, oh my God, I just did the coolest thing that I'll ever do. And thankfully, my partner was with me to see it and verify it. But I'm like, that is the most amazing thing that will ever happen. Because I've seen people whistle to stop cabs in movies my entire life. And it wouldn't happen here. Like, it's not how it works. No. If you ever come to Ireland and you whistle for a cab, they will stick their finger out. You know what are you whistling at? But it happened, and the way the cab stopped abruptly, it's the way I would have shot it if I was filming the scene. I even know mentally where the camera is on that street, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
So did you have a Tokyo moment where you were like, or even a Japan moment where you were like, this, if you say I went to the reptile zoo and something escaped from a cage, and be like, this is going to be a much longer episode than usual.
Yeah.
What was your did you have a Japan moment where you're like, yep, I can see myself in I don't know, Kill Bill Volume 1 or whatever movie has gone there?
I think I have a very big affinity towards Blade Runner, and the closeness of like the restaurants and stuff like that is something that I really, really enjoy. Yeah. And I will say that the eating mentality for a lot of kind of Japan is get in, get your food, and get out, kind of thing. And they're very small. We walked through the movie moment was we walked through a small kind of like traditional kind of sliding door kind of place, and right. It was just a row of like bar stools and a bar kind of thing, and like you ordered your food, and they would just cook it in front of you and then hand it to you, kind of thing. And it felt like a very kind of I guess movie moment of an intimate kind of conversation,
yeah,
in a very kind of close kind of place, because like it's I don't know what it is, I've got a very big kind of like joy of those kind of like everybody's here to eat, we're eating, they're making food,
yeah,
there's no mystery about it coming out of some mystery door kind of thing, they're right there, they're having fun, everything is like, it's swelteringly hot because like all the cookers and ovens are all there, so that's kind of like, that was my movie moment of kind of like turning to my partner and just going like, so what are we doing tomorrow kind of like moment, kind of like, and
Yeah.
this is where like we introduce the characters and
Yeah.
we introduce what's going to happen kind of part. Um, it would be very much an opening moment for a
You were just
movie.
post opening credits. I like it.
Yeah, kind
I
of thing.
like it.
One of the other moments was probably the was in Nara, which is just near Osaka, which is where the bowing deer are, and they're deer that you bow to, and then you give them biscuits,
Oh,
kind of thing. It's very sweet, very
oh,
nice,
that's
kind of thing.
beautiful.
They are lovely, and if you have biscuits, they are
Quite
ravenous.
aggressive.
Yeah, ravenous, kind of thing. Like there's big signs saying like, you know, they will bite, but they don't bite. They're kind of like getting your attention biting,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And in butting, they kind of like, once again, they're butting you to kind of get your attention, kind of thing. But at one point, I have a row of biscuits, and I was just walking along, and my partner recorded it, and it was just like there was like 12 deer following me. And like it was kind of one of these moments where it's just like, and you couldn't see me holding the biscuits. I was just, or the cracker kind of things. It was just
Yeah.
me walking along with like 12 deer just kind of going, following me as if I was some kind of Disney princess. But it was actually because I had a lot of food for them and was just entirely just like, yeah.
I can see the magic of that moment, and I've felt the reality of that moment when I have been the person with food around animals. And that's a beautiful moment. Well, it's no coincidence, and I'm surprised it took this long for us to get to the topic of food, because I've known you for quite a while here,
Hmm.
and I know how much you enjoy your food, and particularly, you're one of the few people I know who actually enjoys, like seeks out Japanese cuisine here. So I knew that that was going to be on the list. How did that go? Was it all noodle bowls, a la every movie that's ever made it, or was it like, if you watch Hollywood, it's noodles or sushi, or else it's very expensive steak with the yakuza or whatever.
Yeah, see, that's the interest. So, ramen is everywhere. It's like their fast food, but they do it in such a high standard that it's
Mm,
incredible.
mm.
Udon is like thicker noodles. Then there's suba, which is like
So yeah,
dipping. Yeah, which is dipping noodles. Their sushi is incredible. I'm not a big sushi person, but when I kind of go away to another country, I'm just like I will try everything, as much as possible, kind of thing. And I'm not a big fish person, um,
mm,
which I will say was not an issue. Anyone who's watching this or watching this in the future, if you're thinking to go to Japan, not eating fish is not a big difficult thing,
that's
kind
good
of
to
thing.
know.
Sushi has plenty of kind of other, either vegetables or other meats, kind of thing, other than fish.
Certainly
But I
does.
will say, try it. It's completely
Hmm.
different to what we have here. Um, but see that, so that was the kind of ramen, udon, suba, which is in sushi were kind of like the big four kind of things. Wagyu is everywhere. Barbecuing is everywhere.
Right.
They also have burger meat, burger steaks, which
Ooh.
is essentially the burger patty, and then with other stuff. Um, if you've ever tried to figure out how to eat a burger patty with chopsticks, well, let me tell you, the Japanese people have figured this out because the meat is so tender and so easy to
Oh,
cut through. It is
you're
amazing.
not yanking it away. It's
No,
like
no,
chomping away.
it's
Oh
literally
no.
just you can just slice it with chopsticks, which is an incredible kind of thing.
Oh,
Um,
can I go tomorrow?
we also got hot pot, which is another big favorite thing, which is a big hot pot of like two different broths or many different broths if you want, and you just kind of put stuff into it and cook it there and then you take it out. That was fantastic as well. It was an all you can eat kind of thing that we had for 2 hours. It turns out that I can eat more than what they would suggest. So that was we. Everybody was just like, "Oh, I'm really full," and I was like, "I'm still hungry," because I'm a massive meat eater.
Yeah, but
I'm not.
there will be a movie made about the black hole that we're going to discover inside you, because you're half my size, yet can eat 5 times as much as me. You're
Uh,
you're an impressive specimen of X-Man that we have yet to define or name.
yeah, like that's the so yeah. After that, when everybody was full, I was just like, we need to we need to go because we're going to the cinema. We went to the cinema twice just to kind of, so that's another experience that I'll talk about.
Oh,
And they were just like, "Oh yeah, we're all full," and I was like, "I'm not," and they were just like, "Oh yeah, just continue on with what you want," and I was like, "We will be here past the movie. We cannot stay here any longer because I will." So I ate a massive amount of popcorn, and then we got back to the 7-Eleven just near our hotel, and I ate bao buns and stuff like that, and I was just completely ravenous. But we were doing like 20,000 steps, which is unusual.
yeah,
I'm
you're
about
marathoning it every day.
yeah, so we didn't really go below kind of 15,000 steps a day, kind of thing. So that was probably why I was so ravenous at that point.
That's your excuse, and you're sticking to it, and I'm not here to dispute it. But dude, I'm so glad that it was all because it doesn't sound like it disappointed in any way. I had no doubt. Again, I know meeting people from a country outside of their own country because I've got to work with quite a few Japanese people and have had Japanese friends. And I mean actual, you know, Japanese friends who've moved from Japan, so not, first generation Japanese Irish or anything. Wonderful, absolutely beautiful people, but you never know if that's just you got to meet the nice people. So I'm really glad to hear that it is not, it's not Godzilla jumping over Han doing a drift in an RX-7, but it's everything else by the sounds of it, which
Yeah,
is good because they're the parts that I wanted to be real. Although I kind of want Han's RX-7, but that's a whole Mazda thing in me, so never mind.
I will say there was a lot of fancy cars, which you're driving around and stuff. Like there was a big kind of, I guess, modified car culture over there as well. As
Oh,
as
car,
a merchandising kind of consumerism like country is, obviously they will be.
well, you get your car guy card taken off you if you don't like Japan, Germany, Italy, and America, and mostly Britain too. But gosh, like Japan has so much in the way of all of its own culture. But when it comes to car culture, we're talking a serious slice of the pie too,
Mm.
worldwide, all from a small set of islands.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, yeah, that's the thing. Was that
So, can I ask if you could take me to the bullet train to the cinema, Paul? Could
yes.
you take me from the bullet train to the cinema?
Um, yeah. So the bullet train or the Sengensen is an amazing kind of feat of engineering. It's as fun as I thought it was going to be. There are first class and obviously kind of economy class kind of things. But it got us from Tokyo to Osaka in 2.5 hours, which is it would have been cheaper to fly and stuff like that. But the experience of kind of seeing in between the cities was a fantastic kind of necessity. We got to see Mount Fuji, which is a absolute play like
That's an
talking
image. There's an iconic image for you.
yeah talking about having like a like literal Mount Doom esque kind of mountain overlooking the majority of kind of like that area is insane. There is like I will say that a lot of people will say that there's a 20 to 30% chance because it gets misty and stuff like that. But when you can see it, when you clearly can see it, it is incredible. Like it just looms over the cities, as much as possible. So that's really
Doesn't
cool.
disappoint. That's
No, not
cool.
at all. Yeah, and obviously like you can you're like once you get up to speed, you can you can feel your ears pop and stuff like that. It was very much like a plane kind of taking off and stuff as it kind of got up to speed. Never felt a thing. It was very smooth and everything, which was incredible. I would
Yeah.
definitely use it again. Kind of thing instead of flying. I would definitely go on a longer one, where you can kind of like if I was going to kind of splash out and more, I would definitely go on a longer kind of ride and maybe try to go for a little bit higher class kind of thing, just
Gotcha.
to experience it.
Yeah.
They're a big train culture. I will say that also. There's a massive train culture over there. It is one of their main kind of forms of transport around the country. So that it doesn't make any kind of, it makes sense, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And from there, you got to see two movies in Japan. Now, we should have done a whole episode before on seeing movies in other countries, because it's always I'm so I'm one of those weird people like you. Thankfully, they're two weirdos together here. Everybody goes on holidays and gets to go somewhere new, and they're like, "Oh, what did you do?" Like, you went to a beach or you went to a temple or you went to a mountain or you snowboarded or whatever it might have been. And then I'll be like, yeah, and also got to go to see a cinema, got to go in and watch something. And for me, it hasn't mattered what I've been watching quite often
Yeah.
because I just want to know what the local culture and feel for cinema is because it's something that obviously you and I wouldn't be doing this if we weren't interested. And Japan is on the list of what's it like to go to the cinema in Japan, Paul? It's got to be different than here.
Oh yeah. So one of the biggest changes between kind of I guess most other places is the fact that they have two showings. This is one of my biggest favorite kind of things. There's two showings. There's a quiet showing, and then there's what obviously cinemas will have different kind of names for these, but the other one was called a roaring screening, which is people are allowed to talk, like allowed to react out loud of
Right.
the stuff that is on screen, which was one of the biggest things because we were just like, how does that work?
Mm.
And we went to one where it was just the silent one. No one made a sound. No, like it's probably a dream of ours because we complain about people taking their phones
Yeah.
out and everything. But the second that it was like, put away your phones, everybody put away their phones. There was no talking, nothing. It was just like everybody was just
That is a
enjoying it.
dream.
I will say that the quietness was a bit unsettling in the sense of kind of like no one reacting to anything, even though you could definitely feel like people wanted to. Because we
So
went
you felt a little bit of pressure not to be the one to accidentally react or danger fart or whatever it might be.
yeah, the kind of like is sharp intake of breath going like kind of like those kind of things were like it's like no one was doing them. It was very much just like everybody's just sitting in the dark enjoying the movie kind of thing. We went to see Spy Family, Code White, which is an anime movie. And then we also got like we went to see that because it had subtitles. There was another movie which didn't have subtitles. It's a Gundam film, and I don't need to tell you how big Gundam is in Japan. Giant
Yeah.
mech robots. They've got a few statues of the places around, kind of thing. We did get to see both of them. We got to see the moving one, which is the whole reason we were going over because it's been dismantled in March.
Oh,
Very sad. And then we also get to see the one that was in which was can't remember the name. But yeah, it's another kind of like Gundam place. So like the chance of seeing a Gundam film in Japan was too strong. So we went without subtitles. And we went to
the
the
roaring showing.
yeah.
Oh,
And it was insane. Everybody
fabulous.
was going like everybody was really enjoying themselves. Every kind of moment that like the new Gundams were being shown, the new robots that were being shown, kind of thing. Everybody was just like, yeah, kind of thing, but in a respectful way, in the sense of like what we would probably deem normal, kind of
Mm.
like yeah, clapping and stuff, and then kind of dying down quick enough that it wasn't disrupting to the whole thing.
Yeah, nobody was using this as a moment to spotlight themselves and be
Yeah.
like, yeah, climbing on their seat and yeah, making it
Um,
about them. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then the other part was just seeing a film with no subtitles. It was a lot easier to understand the plot than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Which was enjoyable in the sense of like I can't wait to go see the film now when it comes out with subtitles, and be just like, yeah, I got like 90% of this right. So, but one of the things, there's two things that I really liked about the cinema other than the screening kind of types. So
Okay.
we went to Toho Cinemas, which the image on screen is the famous Godzilla head over the one in Shibuya, or is it in Suzuka? I'll fact check later. Um, Merchandise. There was merchandise in
Uh-huh.
the hall for the movies that they were showing. So you could buy
Right.
like, Spy X family stuff, or you could buy Gundam stuff, or you could buy stuff from other films that had come out, which was great. It's just a fantastic kind of little thing that I never like. We came out of the movie and was just like, I'm definitely buying something from that movie. That was a really good, kind of thing. And being able
That's
to just walk across like to where they were selling it was a very nice kind of thing.
Hear that, Cineworld, Odeon Cinemas, AMC, everybody else. Do you want to do you want to start maybe having some fun merch after some of your big shows?
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like t-shirts and little kind of like key ring stuff and all those kind of
Hmm.
tiny little kind of little merchandise things that'll never cost you over like tenner, which was just
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And then the second thing that I really liked was the tray, the famous tray, which uh
I must warn you folks, Paul told me about this tray and I didn't believe him, not because I don't believe what he said, but because this is too fabulous to be real. And God damn it, you have a picture of it.
yeah. So on screen is this tray that we were giving. So there's two cup holders, and then obviously there's like a food tray thing with popcorn and stuff. The cup holder that's empty slots into the cup holder in the seat, so it makes a tray. So
It's beautiful.
you can swivel it towards yourself and just have a like small tray to eat off and stuff like that, or you can swing it so that it's in between you and your partner, so that you can kind of pick
Yeah.
at everything without kind of things. It is an amazing. I like.
We must have it here, Paul. We must 3D print these things and start giving them out to the people as our civic duty to the poor buggers in Ireland who have one scabby cup holder between two seats that rarely even fully properly holds anything. And you end up sitting there with cinemas are having a hard time, and I'm trying to make sure that they stay in business. So I'm like, buy your food at the cinema if you can. You're supporting the business and keeping it open.
Yeah.
But they do not make it easy because you end up sitting there with your jacket and if you have a handbag or something like that or a backpack you end up with a pile of stuff.
Yeah.
And then also holding the popcorn and trying to sneak a drink.
Yeah, that was the big thing because we were obviously coming out of or coming into the cinema from like adventuring around the place, so we had bags and coats and everything. Getting this tray with the two drinks and the popcorn you can also half. So my partner got caramel and I got norm classic because I'm a classic guy. And then two drinks. So it made it a lot easier because it was just like, okay, we put this into the cup holder. It holds all our stuff. We can take the coats off. We can put the bags under the seats and everything, get comfortable, and then everything's there. So it was. I know it's such a simple idea, but it blew my mind because the thing is that I didn't know when we went to Spy X Hunter. I didn't know what it was. I was like, oh, I have to hold this thing on my lap now, kind of thing. And then I looked around and people were just like, blunk, and I was like, oh my god, I don't know, there's definitely now a point in time which is before cinema tray and after cinema tray now in my like personal historical kind of calendar.
One flaw though that I want to check on. If you have it in the cup holder is a front of armrest, same as here, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
It doesn't protrude into the walking area on the aisle. So if somebody has to come in after you've sat down or has to get up to use the facilities, will you have to make sure you carefully swing this thing so that they don't knee your popcorn into row Z?
No, there's enough room between kind of the seats in front of you and the protruding tray. Obviously, you'll swing it in just to kind of make it a lot easier for people.
Yeah.
But if you didn't notice someone getting up to go to the bathroom, there's plenty of room for them to kind of just slip by without any
Ladies and
kind of
gentlemen who've
disruptions.
never been to Japan, I'd like to just say for the Irish, and I'm going to speak for the Americans too. I haven't been to the cinema over there enough. Oh, maybe it's come up over there in a few places. It's been a few years for me now, thanks to COVID. We've seen the future. We know what it is, and we must have it. Take to the streets. Take to your cinemas. Take to your 3D printers. Do a good service for people. Make this happen. Take my money. I will pay and bring one to the cinema with me. I'm genuinely thinking, will I buy one and I'll show up at the cinema, get something that fits the cinema I go to most, and actually make my own or buy one from somewhere and bring it with me. Because this is genuinely simple genius.
Yeah,
in that order.
That tray portrays 90% of how like Japan feels like it's planned out.
Nice.
Kind of thing. It just feels like everything is such done to such detail and convenience for life that it just makes sense. You can definitely understand why the culture is very work heavy and play heavy. They make every convenience they possibly can, and because they work the work life balance is very difficult. So
Yeah.
I cannot say how much, as I said, before cinema TV or tray and after cinema tray, BCT and ACT are just now in my brain as historical moments, kind of thing. Um,
That's fantastic.
but so like my takeaways, and I have a little gift for you, um, of a photo, kind of thing, just for everybody to enjoy if you've lasted this long. First of all, Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto, very different places, but portray so much of Japan's culture. And you can get elements of different parts from a move, like watching Tokyo and stuff like that. You definitely, if you go to those three areas, you can definitely understand why they kind of take and kind of borrow from a lot. So, is Tokyo as it is portrayed in movies? I would say, as most things, it's 50%. There's a glamorized side to it, or a context side to it within the movie that is used. But from a visual standpoint of it actually being a physical place, and filmed, it is very much like what you see on
Wow.
screen, which was one of the
That's
biggest
cool.
takeaways. And now the gift. So
What are you going
I
to share with us?
I wore a kimono.
You,
So
I was expecting to see a video of deer walking on behind you. What is
no,
have you put it up live? You have.
yeah,
Oh, fantastic.
yeah. There's a shot of me wearing a kimono.
Well, I
Um,
never realized how much the headphones were holding down hair these days.
yeah,
That does
yeah.
look like it's going vertical for you.
Yeah, it is going everywhere. Obviously this was like 14 days into the travel, so kind of thing. It is like, okay, so the bottom half not as warm as obviously it portrays there. Top half really really warm, kind of thing.
Nice.
It was a very cold day as well, so like it didn't really help. But
So were you
uh
getting the Scottish breeze? Were you finding
yeah,
that you
yeah,
were
the
cold
Scottish breeze
downstairs
is
and
a
warm
good
up
way
top?
of
Yeah.
describing it, kind of thing. I am a boots man. I like to wear my boots. Those flip flops. I had the funniest interaction was we came out of the place. We came out of the place. And we were walking down the street, and a Westerner was just like, and I think he was English. Was just like, how comfortable are the shoes? And I went, not at all comfortable. And it was just he continued on walking, but he
Yeah.
like it was just he was walking up the street. He saw me probably in
Yeah.
opposite, like uncomfortable, and he was just like, it's those shoes, kind of thing. So that was an interesting kind of thing. Eventually, you get used to it, but let me tell you, it was a fun activity, and we did it for a very short period of time.
Hmm.
I will say that the amount of layers getting dressed, a person dresses you in them, getting dressed and stuff like that, and then walking around kind of the temple we were near was very humbling in the sense that there was loads of other people doing it as well. Because like I'm not very much a adventurous person in the clothes that I wear, and this was very much out of my comfort zone. But once again, I'm
Hmm.
away. I'm going to try things,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And how quickly I became comfortable in it was unbelievable. I will say that. But
I gotta say, kind of like looks cool. And again, respect to cultural dress and you know, appropriate reverence for history and tradition. Because I like awesome. It is, you know, I have a bit of a thing that I like traditional Japanese dress. I think it's very, very cool. But it does like it works for you, dude. Because it's got that sort of yeah, we've perfected and honed how we're gonna layer this on. Now, I do question how many times you posed for that because this feels like it was a one-off pose of take the picture just by the look on your face and also the I don't know any other pose that's going to work right now because you're not exactly going to do fists on hips. You're not going to do
yeah,
Superman. So, yeah, was this a one snap and walk away?
you don't see. Excuse me. I'm holding a handbag, because there's no pockets. It's a little kind of flowery thing in my arms. So
Yeah, I
that's
can
actually
see
why
that.
I'm standing like that, because you could not put this thing down. It has made me appreciate pockets to no end.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was the one that I will say that my face does not allow any kind of like. I am very happy in this photo. My face does in no way portray it, kind of thing. But yeah, it was a very fun. That was a one and done kind of photo. But there's plenty of other photos of me with the people we were with. We were with
I'm sure.
a friend couple, kind of a little bit more.
It's very cool, and genuinely, thank you for sharing. I'll be on. I'm going to lean in for a little close look. I've known you a very long time. I've never seen that level of bounce to the bonds. Like you've grown at least 2 inches there.
Yeah.
So the humidity was it just the day? Yeah.
No, it was like, I guess, just after essentially like nearly 3 weeks
Yeah,
of travel and stuff like that. I just was not keeping myself in any way. This isn't like in any way done up or anything like that.
This isn't keeping myself. This has to get taken care of. All of it, like all of it, everything is a mess. But I was taking a chance while you were away to just not even look after myself. But Paul, I gotta say that's a picture I will be screen shooting and using for various nefarious purposes. Not on the channel, just between the two of us. Yeah, you're getting cut into an awful lot of movie posters and stuff.
I can definitely see that happening. But yeah, so like I will say, if there's any questions about going to Tokyo or anything like that, I'm happy to share what little knowledge I have of the kind of do's and don'ts of what we did, kind of thing. There's a lot of misnomers, kind of things of like, you need to finish all your meals and stuff like that, otherwise they take offense. It's modern restauranting, they don't, stuff like that. But yeah, so ask any questions of if you want to travel over or anything like that, kind of thing. If there's a place in the world that you've been to that is exactly how movies portray it, let us know down in the comments down below. I guess we'll try to put it on a list of trying to get to, so we can definitely experience it ourselves, kind of things. But yeah, it was a very joyous kind of journey, and I hope everybody does it at least once.
And I hope to get to do it at least once. And Paul, this will no doubt be the start of a series where we go to small parts of Ireland that have hosted a few single scenes in movies, and we can go and stand there and go, "This is the Skelligs. That's where Luke was hiding out." And where the Quiet Man was in Galway or something. I think it'll be a very short series because there aren't that many major motion pictures set in Ireland. At least not ones that we want to talk about. There's an awful lot of leap year and shillelagh shenanigan, 4-leaf clover, love story crap, but we don't count those as movies.
We'll go up to the Game of Thrones areas, which are in the north, and show those kind of places. Funny enough, it's filmed in the north of Ireland, and a lot of the Winterfell stuff is all filmed in the north as well. So the north of the north,
it's beautiful up there.
Yeah,
The north, yeah, it really was the north. So Paul, closing it out, I'm going to say thanks for sharing your experiences. Thanks for making me just that little bit more jealous. You told me about this back in December, and since then we have been less close. Let me just put it that way. And I know it's coming from my side. Now that you've brought back some cool imagery and great stories, I can just say, yeah, we'll probably never be the same again because I will resent you until I get to go.
Yeah.
But I think we'll find a way to cover that over on screen.
We will once again reconcile once you've been and stuff like that, and we can then bond further on our joys of Japan.
Exactly. Yeah, so dude, thank you so much. I'd like to throw one out there for, as Paul's question was, let us know if you've been somewhere, but also let us know if there's somewhere that you've been that was nothing like what you were expecting, because I'm curious. Paul, this has been awesome. I want to do more stuff like this because it's great to hear other cinema experiences from around the world. I think we might even take a little sidebar at some stage and talk about other cinema experiences we've had in nations that are not our own.
Yeah. So, with that said, I've been Paul.
And I've been Patrick.
And we've been Hear Us Out.
We'll see you next time.
See you next week.
Say it in Japanese, Paul.
No. Arigato gozaimasu.
There you go. Bye.
Bye.